Welcome, and thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy this video, we invite those of you who haven't yet done so, to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the notification icon, to be notified when the next one is uploaded. We'd like to urge those of you who haven't yet done so, to sign our online petition for an inquiry into the BBC and Channel 4's coverage of Lewis Hamilton and Abu Dhabi. A link has been provided in the description. If you are on X, then please repost our tweet. Thank you. We'd like to start off by thanking all our visitors, subscribers, and commenters. We appreciate your support. And a special thank you to @Umbrella6631, we see you sis. We started this channel to push back against some of the crazy and toxic narratives that were being pushed out against Sir Lewis and Mercedes in the run-up to Abu Dhabi 2021, never imagining that what happened could ever happen. We were shocked and saddened to uncover the role that Toto Wolff and Mercedes have been playing in undermining the GOAT. Not sure if comforted is the right word, but we were comforted to find that there are many like you guys and the Ross Brauns of this world, who were already aware of what Toto is, and what Mercedes had been doing. Now, a lot has been said and written about Sir Lewis and his new life at Ferrari, but very little about Mercedes and their life after the departure of the GOAT and F1's most marketable asset, so we thought we'd have a go. It appears to us that the two are now on diametrically opposed journeys. While the media and the world's attention is focused on every aspect of Sir Lewis and his Ferrari adventure, it appears that certain aspects of the Mercedes journey after his departure are going unreported. In our previous video, we spoke on how F1 media appear to be gaslighting the fact that Ineos had to all intents and purposes been axed as principal partner, with their name no longer as prominent on the car as befitting that status. Towards the end of that video, we touched on how it's mostly bad news that is coming out for the team and all its three owners separately. And then lo and behold, the morning after publication, we were met with the Reuters headline, Mercedes-Benz plan to cut 25% of workforce costs in China by 2027, source says. For a second we were concerned that the algorithms had pushed that headline our way because they had been reading our script, but hey, what the heck, it is what it is. Whichever way you cut it, there is nothing but bad news coming out not just from the three amigos that own the Mercedes F1 team, but also from the team as well. How long will the F1 media continue to pretend or refuse to acknowledge that Mercedes are possibly spinning out of F1 or down the ranks? As it so happens, @JaneJones6630 appears to have read our thoughts, so we decided to share it with the rest of you, to see what you think, and as usual would appreciate your comments. Surely the signs are clear that we are watching a Mercedes ship sinking before our very eyes. As I saw Kimi lining up to be the first car on the circuit for the first session of test day 1, the thought that sprang to mind immediately was that Toto was trying to get as much camera time as possible to appease his sponsors, because they were going to be limited opportunities during the season. You know, a bit like what the lower running teams tend to do to get more airtime, when a practice session had been interrupted due to rain or something of that nature. Is this how far the mighty Mercedes have fallen? Surely there is something to be said about an 18-year-old making his first full season debut, been eager to get on the tracks. But it is what it is, and that was what we thought. Things were further compounded when one of the commentators mentioned that Mercedes had copied parts of last year's Red Bull. It's as if vindication is just following us all over the place. Back in the day, it was Mercedes that others copied, not the other way around. But to make things worse, Mercedes had opted to copy a Red Bull that ended up coming a distant third. Well, this was a clear sign of desperation if ever there was one. Mercedes were so desperate to recover from the zero-pod design that Toto had championed against Sir Lewis's advice, that they took a wild punt on copying Red Bull. Well, lo and behold, a simple Google search threw up a headline to confirm exactly that. And even though we were skipping through the YouTube coverage, we were chanced to come across a segment where another presenter had noted that Sir Lewis had significantly improved on the times that he had set the previous year, while George hadn't. So, we checked out the figures, and as you can see from the table, Sir Lewis made the biggest and most significant improvement amongst the sample. Yes, we appreciate that one shouldn't read much into the times posted because we don't know the underlying conditions, but nevertheless we can still see that Sir Lewis has made the biggest improvement in speed as a result of switching from Mercedes to Ferrari, to the extent that he is now a title contender. But those who questioned the wisdom of making the move at the time are now speaking on the improvement without acknowledging their previous criticism. It would appear that as far as Sir Lewis is concerned, any unhinged or untethered criticism goes, because there will be no accountability when subsequently disproved. Critically, George, who had posted better times than him when they were at Mercedes together, has made the least improvement. This opinion is somewhat corroborated by both he and Toto's comments about the car and their title chances after the first day of testing. So, it appears that there are enough bits and pieces of information to suggest that Mercedes have fallen further behind the top three on the track. Off track, the future is just as bleak, as Ineos, an equal one-third owner doubling as principal partner, is mired in financial straits, and has created a big hole in the team's finances by failing to fulfill its obligations as a sponsor. The company, which reportedly paid £50 million into the team in 2023, while receiving £33 million in dividend, has not paid for this season. Consequently, its status has been downgraded as its name has been taken off the prominent positions on the airbox and backwing. Given that the £50 million represented half of the dividends for that year, one can only imagine that it would represent a bigger proportion of the dividends that can be projected to be smaller in 2025, under the circumstances. It remains to be seen how soon, and if at all, they can find someone to fill the vacuum that Ineos has created, but at any rate they would only be mitigating their significant losses. On top of which there are the obligations under the America's Cup partnership that came to £14 million in 2023. It is difficult to see the relationship between Sir Jim and the other two surviving under these circumstances, but if Toto says they are never going to part ways, then it must be so. But not so sure that Sir Jim will be feeling so invested in the relationship, given the embarrassment of having his company name taken off the airbox and backwing. It is self-evident that Mercedes are, and will continue to be taking a big hit for the 2025 season both financially and on track. They have desperately latched on to the design that failed Red Bull last year, and don't appear to have made much progress with their car this year. Their driver pairing, which is largely untested, is the weakest they've ever had. So, why are there no articles pondering the obvious question of whether Mercedes is spinning out of control or sinking? Is this not the same F1 media that have speculated on whether Sir Lewis would be so demotivated from being thrashed by George that he would rather retire than go on to fulfill every racer's dream of driving for Ferrari? Forza Ferrari.